Fest is happening in the Academy Dublin on Friday night. Some great artists playing the music of Bob Dylan. We have the likes of Alvin Harmon Jr. and Nick Valenci of The Strokes. Fran from Travis is going to be there. Boz Scaggs, Paul from Bell X1, Kathy Davey, Jape, and Mr. Gavin Friday, who joins me in the studio now. Hello, Gavin.
How are you? Good.
And we're also joined by Austin Scaggs, who's a contributing editor to Rolling Stone magazine and is also in the house band for the night, which is called the Cabin Down Below Band. Welcome to you as well, Austin.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe we'd start by telling us, what is Dylan Fest all about, for people who don't know?
Well, this is something that I started almost 12 years ago. You know, I play music. I'm a musician. I was working at Rolling Stone. Didn't really have time to put my own band together, and Bob Dylan's birthday came around, and I said, let's get our friends together and jam on some Bob Dylan songs. And I think there were 12 people in the bar that night, and we all had a great time.
Cool.
And, you know, it's kind of steamrolled since then. We've had help from Jameson in the last year. And without their help, we wouldn't be able to take this outside of New York.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of different performers, a lot of ins and outs, and so here we are. And I'm sorry, just to add, we're playing Dylan songs all night. We are the house band. We got a killer house band, and we have wonderful guests like The Strokes and Gavin, and wonderful Irish artists joining us.
And tell us, it's all going to charity, to Sweet Relief Fund. Maybe you'll tell us a bit about where the money is going, what the Sweet Relief Fund is.
Sweet Relief Fund is an organization based in America that helps struggling musicians. There are a lot of musicians in America, and I imagine all around the world, that don't have life insurance or get an injury or get sick and have no recourse. So Sweet Relief helps those guys.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful charity, and we're so happy to be affiliated with them.
Good. Tell us, why Bob Dylan? Why Bob Dylan Fest?
Well, you want to start with the greatest, don't you?
Well, I suppose
you want to
so.
start at the top. So, yeah, we do a Bob Dylan show, and in the past 5 or 6 years, we've added a Tom Petty show, which we call Petty Fest, and we do the Stones also.
Stones Fest?
Stones Fest. You got it. That's how it works.
Well, Gavin, you're going to be performing on Friday night.
I am, yes.
You've had a long association with Bob Dylan. As you mentioned, we were chatting outside, on one of your solo albums, you recorded Death Is Not the End. You've also sung it at a couple of funerals of close friends of yours.
Yeah.
When did Dylan first enter your life? I know you would have been a huge Bowie fan when you were a teenager.
I was very much a 70s kid, so Bowie and Roxy and punk rock were my touchstones, and I didn't like anything from the 60s, really. I was suspicious of hippies.
You weren't allowed in the 70s and punk years, no?
But I was, and I just thought Dylan was this moany old hippie.
Right.
And then something happens, like you start growing up.
Yeah.
And in your mid-20s, I just started listening to this guy, and it's just once you go there, and as a lyricist, I mean, he's nobody comes near him. Cohen is sort of there a bit, but this is in a very sort of simplistic way. It's almost like we're living in a time of a William Shakespeare who happens to be a folk poet and a punk in his own way. So it's just phenomenal when you know.
It's funny, you mentioned that you said you got into him in your 20s. I have long held the opinion that Dylan sort of comes to you when you're ready. You know, you don't decide to get into Bob Dylan.
No.
You know, he's sort of like, he's always there, but he sort of hits you one day and you go, now I get it.
For me, it was, I think, it was the Big Lebowski soundtrack. It was hearing The Man in Me, in that movie, and that sucked me in.
Yeah.
And then, you know, once you hear something like Don't Think Twice, or you hear It's All Right, Ma.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
you gotta be kidding me.
Did you guys do what I did then? Did you go and feverishly buy all of the albums?
Absolutely.
It's a bit sad, you tend to do that, but yeah, I mean, I think the first one I got into was Desire, which was probably in a weird way, it was quite commercial in its sort of stance.
Yeah.
It was quite up, and then it just like Blood on the Tracks, and then it was over.
Yeah.
Just everything.
Yeah.
Because Blood on the Tracks is just such a masterpiece.
Did you buy the crap ones? Did you buy Knocked Out Loaded?
I did. I even bought the Born Again ones. But, you know, in all the crap, I mean, the song I covered is from Down in the Groove, I think.
That's right.
And it's not a great album, but in all his albums, you'll always find one or two little diamonds hidden there. And and it sometimes takes other people to cover them to actually see what they are.
Yeah, that's another long-held theory that Dylan is better when he's covered. I don't think that's true.
But there's some great covers.
Yeah.
But no, he's pretty great in his own standard.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he is the standard, is he not?
He is, yeah. I mean, in my experience, say from rock and roll or contemporary music, it's the 3 Bs. All you need is Bob Dylan, the Beatles, and Bowie, and you're okay.
I thought you were going to say Bieber for a minute.
No, they're the three pointers.
How about you, Austin? Did you buy the crap albums?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, it's hard to call them crap albums sometimes, but. Yes, I have visited those records.
Yeah.
Knocked Out Loaded. Yeah, I'll take that. And
well, it's got Brownsville Girl on it. That's all right
killer,
by me. Yeah.
I love it all, man.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
Well, listen, you put the band together, the house band, and then, as you said, about 12 years ago it started, and then it sort of escalated and escalated. So now it's something akin to the Rolling Thunder Review, yes?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we do maybe 3 Dylan shows a year. We're going to do this one, and we're going to do one in New York and in San Francisco later this year. And it's like a whole different cast and crew, Like I said, we have Gavin here. We have these amazing Irish artists. We're bringing over members of the Strokes. Fran Healy's coming. And every time it's just, it's like a whole different cast and crew, and it's a whole different set because we ask people, what they want to do.
Okay, that was my next question. How do you decide?
We're there are certain songs, that we try and hit, and we don't want it to be a night full of deep cuts. And
which I'd go to anyway.
Yeah, but you definitely hear some of the songs you've been playing on the radio. I'll let one cat out of the bag, but Albert Hammond Jr. is going to do Don't Think Twice, It's All Right.
Cool.
And he's actually come up with his own version of it.
Okay.
And, he's taught it to the band, and you never know, man. You never know what people are going to pick, and you never know who's going to show up.
Yeah, well, I think we can probably I'd like to mention the song you're doing, Gavin. You didn't go for the easy route at all, did you? The only worst one you could have probably picked was Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Yeah.
You've gone for A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall.
Yeah, there's a lot of words there.
A lot of words.
A lot of words, yeah.
Will you look like you're a tattoo artist with all the lyrics on your hand?
No. Well, with a good rehearsal yesterday and a bit of work tonight, and I'll be fine. But it's weird, like you were saying, in the 70s, I was a big fan of Roxy Music and all that. And Brian Ferry did a version of A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall.
It's awful.
I like it.
It's awful.
It's not.
It's terrible. It takes all of the sadness and all of the sort of the depth out of the song. It's terrible.
Oh, no.
Sorry, go on.
The energy of it is good, the energy. So we used that, weirdly enough, as a touchstone to our arrangement. But it's so strange. It's like Dylan, his songs could go into any world.
Exactly,
I mean, Adele, he's even on X Factor with, is that song from Time Out of Mind?
Make You Feel My Love.
Make You Feel My Love, and everyone feels that's an Adele song.
Nobody knows Dylan wrote it.
Well, people in the know do.
Yeah. But 90% of your X Factor fans probably go that Adele wrote it. But there you go. I mean, that's Dylan for you. He wrote The Mighty Quinn. How many people know that?
Oh, I love that.
It's insane. So, as we said, you asked the artists what songs they want to do.
Yep.
But there must be some must-haves in the set.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? What do you think would be a must-have?
I'm thinking a must-have. Well, I mean, blatantly, Dylan 101 has to be like a Rolling Stone. You've got to have that in there.
All right.
You have to have Tangled Up in Blue.
We got a great version of that going.
And if I was to say another one, Tambourine Man and Probably Just Like a Woman.
There's some young ladies that are going to come out and do Tambourine Man, and Just Like a Woman will be sung beautifully by Paul Noonan from Bell X1.
Excellent.
He came to rehearsal yesterday and really...
He's a dude.
He's a beautiful voice.
Yeah,
beautiful voice, and they have a record coming out, I think, too.
It's out, chopped up,
it just
and
came
it's
out.
Excellent, yeah.
Excellent.
I would recommend it. It's a fabulous album.
Love him.
So how many of the artists then were you familiar with, Austin, before, for the Dublin Dylan
That's
Fest?
a good question. Most of them. We did a lot of research before we came over, and, we'd like to have a good eclectic show. We like to have... young and old and everything but in between, really. So, Yeah, I mean, Bell X1 was great. I'd known this beautiful young woman named Gemma Hayes from working at Rolling Stone. Gavin, of course. Bell X1.
Yeah.
Yeah, these people are, I'm hip to these guys.
Well, there's another fair few artists that I reckon you're going to probably want to check out when you go back to the States after you hear them perform on Fridays. Like the likes of Lads and Jape and Castle Cheers, two great acts.
Yeah.
Can I ask both of you, have you ever met his Bobness, Gavin?
Yes.
Oh, really?
But it was very surreal and brief. I think it was, I've seen him loads of times live.
Yeah.
My favourite gig, actually, I'll come back to that. My favourite gig was, remember he did a sort of a secret gig in Vicar Street.
I was at it, yeah.
And I just adored it. And he came out on the whole rockabilly sort of, and he had that Vincent Price moustache.
Right, he did.
It was around the time he was hiding his face for about 10 years with a hoodie. And then he revealed it, I think. And I met him when he was in his hoodie phase with a zip. And I went to see him in the Point Depot then, and I went with a couple of my mates, and one of them being Bono. Bob invited Bono for drinks, so we went to the Westbury Hotel, of all places. And it was quite extraordinary because he was sitting at the bar, he was very friendly, but he had the hood up and the zip pulled up to his eyes. So
like a ninja.
He would pull the zip down, take a sip of beer, speak, and then pull the zip back up.
Are you kidding me?
No, so I saw his eyes and his mouth occasionally, and he had a very limp, frail hand.
Right, I believe he has a very limp, frail handshake.
Very.
So were you able to have a conversation with him, or was it
he was
zip
more
up, zip down all the time?
Zip up, zip down, and more sipping a little bit of a Guinness, and more just, I mean, Bono can talk, and that was it, you know, he was, and what are you going to do next year? Things like that. So I didn't really met him, I was in his presence.
Did you get a word in edgewise, or was it just Bono and Bob?
No, he wanted to know where we came from in Dublin and stuff, because we grew up together, a gang of us.
Did you bring him up to Ballymun?
No. It would have been interesting, but no, we didn't. We didn't bring him to Ballymun.
And how about you then, Austin? Have you met him in your?
That's one of the, that's in my work at Rolling Stone. I've had the opportunity to interview people and get their attention, and have their attention. And I actually did an interview with Dylan after he wrote his Chronicles book, and we talked for half an hour on the phone. And at first, when he answered the phone, you could barely hear him on the other line. So basically, the first thing I had to tell him was, "Hey, can you speak up? Speak up, Bob." But no, it went well. We actually have I love Bob, and Bob's always been very kind to me. And I remember when I did that interview, it was right after he came back to Newport, after all those years, and he was wearing he had a wig on and a fake beard.
Yeah.
And it was just bizarre because we all went up. We came up from New York to go see the show in Newport, and here he comes out with the wig and the beard. And
did he have the Stetson as well?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. He had that was holding down the wig. That was keeping it all together.
Looked like Jennifer Aniston, that wig, if I recall.
Right. Yeah. So I asked him at the end of the interview.
Jennifer Aniston on meth. I
asked him at the end of the interview. I said, Bob, we all went up to Newport to see you, and you come out with the beard and the wig, and I was like, what was up with that? And he just kind of paused and he said, "Are you sure that was me you saw it there?"
Brilliant. Because I believe he's not the easiest man to interview. Now, I'd imagine having a few late night drinks in a bar is a different story.
I think that whenever I interview anybody, I don't beat around the bush. I think a lot of people try and beat around the bush and try and get at him sideways or backwards or try and trap him somehow. But if you ask him straight up questions, he'll give you a straight up answer.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, listen, Dylan Fest is happening in the Academy on Friday night. Tickets still on sale, €25 from Ticketmaster.ie, and all proceeds going to the Sweet Relief Fund. Gavin, Austin, we'll see you Friday. Thanks a million for coming in.
Thank you.
And I know it's going to be a hell of a gig.
It's going to be amazing. I think there's a handful of tickets left. Get on it. This is going to be a special night.
How many in the house band?
We have, I don't know. How many are there? There's 7 of us, I think. We brought a great pedal steel player over, too, that is a monster.
Okay.
So.
Good stuff. So we're probably going to hear Tell Me That It Isn't True. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, we'll play this one for you guys. This is one of the lesser-known Dylan songs, one of my very favourites. For Gavin and for Austin, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
This is Series of Dreams.
We are Phantom.